Hello, everyone. Today I'll be talking about one of the undiscovered, until recently, Niyamas. These are very ancient ones that are written up in the Upanishads and other ancient scriptures that Patanjali drew from when he was laying out the Eightfold Path of Yoga, Ashtanga Yoga. And yama and niyama are the first two steps on the Eightfold Path. Yama delineates things that we need to eradicate from our lives in order to stop creating bad karma. And niyamas are the things that we need to do and the things we need to put energy into so that we can create good karma in order to be free of all karma. And so today I'll be talking about one of the ones that Dharmadas recently discovered in doing some research. And this is called Dana, which means generosity, charity, or sharing with others. And I want to begin by reading a little passage from Autobiography of a Yogi, in which Yogananda is talking about his parents' very, very harmonious marriage. But there is this one very small aspect that sometimes caused a little bit of consternation. Yogananda writes, Mother held an open hand toward the needy. Father was also kindly disposed, but his respect for law and order extended to the budget. One fortnight, Mother spent in feeding the poor more than Father's monthly income. All I ask, please, is to keep your charities within a reasonable limit. Even this gentle rebuke from her husband was grievous to Mother. She ordered a hackney carriage, not hinting to the children at any disagreement. Goodbye, she said. I am going away to my mother's home. Ancient ultimatum. We children broke into astounded lamentations. Our maternal uncle arrived opportunely. He whispered to Father some sage counsel, garnered no doubt from the ages. After Father had made a few conciliatory remarks, Mother happily dismissed the cab. Thus ended the only trouble I ever noticed between my parents. But I do recall a characteristic discussion. Please give me 10 rupees for a hapless woman who has just arrived at the house. Mother's smile had its own persuasion. Why 10 rupees? Asked Father. One is enough. When my father and grandparents died suddenly, I had my first taste of poverty. My only breakfast before walking miles to my school was a small banana. Later at the university, I was in such need that I applied to a wealthy judge for aid of 1 rupee per month. He declined, remarking that even a rupee is important. How bitterly you recall the denial of that rupee. Mother's heart had an instant logic. Do you want this woman also to remember painfully your refusal of 10 rupees, which she needs urgently? You win, Father said, with the immemorial gesture of vanquished husbands everywhere. Here is the 10 rupee note. Give it to her with my goodwill. Well, back in those days, 10 rupees meant a lot more than it does now, but even now, 10 rupees is important. So, how do we cultivate that generosity of spirit, the charity that is so important in our lives. I remember reading something once many, many years ago. I think I was a teenager at the time, but it has stuck with me and it has helped me to give sometimes when I didn't know for sure if I really wanted to. And this statement that I read was simply, when you give, it should hurt just a little. And as I say, I've never forgotten that. And when I am confronted with the situation in which I really like what I have, and I don't really want to give it away, I remember that statement and I remember, well, a little bit of pain is good. That means that it's worth something to you. It means that it is a worthy gift for someone else. There's a wonderful story about a young woman in India who became married and went to live with her husband in his parents' home. And the family was all very fond of her. They gave her every convenience, every luxury. She was surrounded with elegance and had lots of beauty and just a wonderful, harmonious home. Well, it wasn't too long after, excuse me, that her parents came to visit, and they were sitting there with all of her new family and extended family, and they saw the comfortable surroundings that she had in her home. And so, just making conversation, her parents asked her, "So, how are you doing here? Are they feeding you well?" Just sort of a light, sweet comment, knowing, of course, that she would be very, very well fed. And she struck horror in everyone's heart when she replied to this, "Are you feeding? Are you being well fed here?" She replied to this question by saying very calmly, "They feed me stale food." And a gasp went up from everyone. And her mother-in-law and father-in-law were just appalled. And they said, "My dear, how can you say such a thing? We give you the choicest food." And she held up her hand and she said, "I am surrounded, as you can see, by wealth and culture, which was attained by this family through past generosity in other lifetimes. But now, in this lifetime, there is the enjoyment of this good karma, but there isn't a replenishing of this. There isn't charity. There isn't good karma being accrued. It's only stale food." And immediately the family understood that they had indeed been feeding her stale food. And so they changed their ways and again practiced that sharing and generosity which creates the good karma of prosperity and a good, comfortable life. And so let us look at our own lives and see, where do we stand? Are we comfortable? Do we have plenty in our lives? That's from good actions in the past. And if we keep doing that, if we keep giving a loving spirit and an unselfish spirit, then prosperity comes to us and will continue to come. And if we are in straitened means, we're feeling the fear, the uncertainty, the insecurity, then we need to be even more generous. I read an account some time ago about very poor families who were living near to each other, and one was given a bag of rice. And the first thing that they did was share that rice with those around them, their neighbors and friends. And they were asked, why would you share this? You finally have a little bit extra. And they said, we know what it's like to be without. And our neighbors share with us, we share with them, so that all of us may survive. And so let's practice that kind of charity, that kind of loving spirit that is always ready to give, even if it's a little bit more than our budget and the law and order of our budget allows. Let's help wherever we can, because in that way, when we are in need, God will make sure that we are helped. So there's also not just material generosity and sharing and charity, but also that loving spirit of giving to people. And I was thinking about this, and I've contemplated in my own life how sometimes I am a little afraid of people if they are very different than I am, if they're very loud and unpredictable, or just saying something that's very contrary to what I believe and what I think. And I've worked with myself on this, and I can give you a couple of hints of how to be more generous and charitable to everyone that we meet. And one aspect of it is simply to try to see the God in everyone, the God that is shining just behind the personality, just behind the form that we may find formidable or unsettling, and always try to relate to that God within the other person. I love this gesture of namaste. The God in me bows to the God in you. And that's very, very helpful. And another way of being more charitable, more giving to other people is simply to shine the beacon of your love equally everywhere. I love the passages, there's several in the Gita that have this similar theme of a Brahmin, a bar of gold, a clod of clay. The wise look on each equally. And we need to do that, not just to shine the beacon of our love on those we love and who love us back, but equally calmly and with joy towards everyone we meet. I'm always so charmed when we go for a hike near the river, and when other hikers are coming the opposite way, I love it when people greet each other with a cheery hello, or have a good day, or, just one of those loving, friendly gestures that really doesn't cost anything, and it's just polite and kind and shows goodwill. And that's what we need to do in all aspects of our life, with everyone in our lives. The person bringing our groceries or anything, anywhere, just have that equality of love towards everyone. Dharmadas and I have had the blessing of living in many Ananda centers, Ananda Village, Palo Alto, Ocean Song, which was a fledgling community long ago, Ananda Seattle, Ananda Italy, Ananda India. And so we have had to meet hundreds of new people several times in our lives. And I've loved that experience because at the beginning of being in a new Ananda center, you have hundreds of names to put with faces and remember them. And you don't know anybody's personality yet. You're not partial to anyone. You're giving absolutely equal attention and friendship to every person you meet. And that is a very, very good practice to shine that beacon of love and friendship to everyone. And so, dear ones, let us become more generous during these uncertain times, these times when we want to hoard, or as the Festival of Light says, what else is wisdom if not to keep what is mine for myself? It's very easy to get into that consciousness. And let's not do that. Let's keep our hearts open, our minds open, and give love, friendship, financial aid, food, whatever we can to help those in need. And in that way, we will never be eating stale food. God bless you.